Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
My parents excluded me from a family bonding trip. Dad texted, "Don't ask, you're not on the list." Then they charged it to my card, so I took them to court and watched them spiral. Sup Reddit. So after 8 years of bailing them out, my family booked a luxury ski trip without me. Dad said I wasn't invited. What happened next was not something they expected. 32 male, work as a fleet operations supervisor for Medline Logistics, a regional medical supply distributor based out of Denver. Fancy title for a guy who makes sure refrigerated insulin shipments don't spoil in a broken-down truck outside Cheyenne at 3 a.m. I manage route optimization across 11 states and coordinate emergency medical deliveries. My salary is comfortable. 6 figures, nothing crazy. My corporate card has a $45,000 limit for operational flexibility, and I've never once abused that privilege. My older brother Brennan is 37. He's a real estate agent, which sounds impressive until you realize he's been about to close a huge deal for the past 6 years. Every time the market shifts, he pivots. Every time commissions dry up, he's got a new strategy. What he actually has is a talent for making failure sound like entrepreneurship. My younger sister Macy is 31. She's a freelance event coordinator. And by that, I mean she plans parties for rich friends who pay her in exposure and brunch invitations while her actual rent gets paid by someone else. Her Instagram bio says, "Creating memorable moments," which is ironic because the most memorable moments she creates are the ones where she asks for money at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Then there's me, middle child, the steady one, the guy they call when rent is short at the end of the month. Over the past 8 years, I've given Brennan roughly $18,000 in loans that never got repaid, security deposits after breakups, car repairs after accidents that were somehow never his fault, emergency cash when his credit cards got maxed funding lead generation campaigns that generated exactly 0 leads. The worst was probably the $2,400 I wired him for essential business equipment that turned out to be a drone for taking property photos. He used it twice before selling it on Facebook Marketplace for half what I paid. Never saw a cent of that money either. Macy's running tab was around $11,000. Rent shortfalls when clients ghosted. Equipment for her event planning business that she sold 6 months later. A laptop that cost more than my first car because she needed it for presentations that she apparently only gave once. Then there was the $800 for a photography course that would transform her business. She never finished it. The login credentials expired after 2 months. My parents? Another $8,000 over the years. Property taxes that came in higher than expected. A new furnace when theirs died mid-January. Holiday dinners they wanted to host but couldn't afford to fund. Last year I covered $900 for my dad's truck registration and inspection after he let both lapse. He drove it anyway for 3 months, risking tickets he definitely couldn't afford, before finally asking me to bail him out. Total, roughly $37,000 in family support over 8 years. Last Thanksgiving was the perfect example. I spent $1,800 on catering and decorations because my mom wanted a Pinterest-worthy spread. Brennan showed up 2 hours late with a new girlfriend nobody had met and complained that the turkey was dry. Macy spent the whole meal on her phone coordinating some influencer's birthday party. My parents made a toast, thanking everyone for coming together as a family. They mentioned Brennan's promising real estate career. They mentioned Macy's growing events business. They didn't mention my name once, not even when they were eating food I paid for. I sat through that dinner with a tight smile, because I was taking notes. It was a Tuesday night in early November when my phone buzzed with a notification from the family group chat. The one that went silent for weeks until someone needed money or had news they wanted applauded. The message was from my mom. "Big announcement, everyone! We're doing a family bonding trip to Aspen this December. Skiing, hot tubs, a private chef for the week, the whole luxury experience. Macy found the most gorgeous chalet with mountain views and a heated pool. Brennan is coordinating activities and lift passes. This is going to be absolutely magical." I stared at the screen. December in Aspen during peak season? A chalet for a week would run $4,000 minimum, probably closer to $5,000 for anything with a heated pool. Lift passes for multiple people would be another $1,500 easy. A private chef? Add $2,000 or more depending on the menu. This wasn't a casual trip. This was a $12,000 to $15,000 vacation that nobody in my family could actually afford. I typed a reply. "Sounds great. When are we booking? I can check my work schedule and request time off early." The three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. They hung there for almost 2 full minutes. My dad's response came through first. Short, blunt. Don't ask. You're not on the list. I read it 3 times. My mom followed up within seconds. Fletcher, sweetie, this trip is really for people who've been under a lot of stress lately. Brennan just lost that big listing he'd been working on for months and needs to decompress. Macy's been working so hard building her client base and she's absolutely exhausted. Your dad and I need quality time with them to reconnect and support them through their struggles. You have your stable job and your steady routine. You're doing fine. You don't need this the way they do. You understand, right? I set my phone down on the coffee table. I walked to my kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water and drank it slowly. 3 weeks earlier, I'd wired Brennan $650 for an emergency car repair. He'd texted at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, panicking about how he couldn't get to showings without his car. I transferred the money within 10 minutes. No questions asked. He never mentioned it again. 2 weeks before that, I'd transferred Macy $400 because she miscalculated her rent again. She'd called crying, saying her landlord was going to start eviction proceedings. I covered it. She posted photos from brunch the next weekend at a restaurant where the average plate cost $45. 6 months ago, I'd sent my parents $1,400 to cover their property tax shortfall. My mom had sent a long email about how stressed they were. I wrote a check and mailed it the same day. They hosted a barbecue that summer and never once mentioned my contribution. But a luxury ski vacation? That was for family. Real family. Not me. I picked up my phone and typed a response to the group chat. My message was direct and clear. Before anyone books anything, we need to settle the $37,000 in loans I'm owed. Brennan owes $18,000. Macy owes $11,000. Mom and Dad owe $8,000. I have records of every transfer going back 8 years. If you can afford a luxury vacation to Aspen, you can afford to pay me back first. Let me know when you're ready to discuss repayment plans. I hit send and went to bed. The responses came fast. My phone buzzed constantly for the next hour. I let it buzz. Brennan was first. Are you serious right now? Those weren't loans. That was family helping family. You never said anything about paying you back. Macy followed. This is so hurtful, Fletcher. I can't believe you'd throw money in our faces like this. We're your family, not your debtors. This is really toxic behavior. My mom tried damage control. Sweetie, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We always appreciated your help during tough times. But calling them loans feels like you're putting conditions on love. Family doesn't work that way. Can we talk about this privately? My dad was blunt. You're out of line. Nobody owes you anything. If you gave money freely, you don't get to demand it back years later because you're upset about a vacation. Grow up. I read every message the next morning over coffee. Then I opened my banking app and documented every single transfer I'd made. Dates, amounts, context from text messages where they'd promised to pay me back as soon as things turn around. I created a spreadsheet. Clean, professional, undeniable. Then I opened my corporate card app to freeze the account as a precaution. That's when I saw it. A notification I'd missed during the night. A charge alert from my card issuer. The kind that triggers automatically for transactions over $500. Aspen Peak Lodging, $8,500. My hands went cold. I scrolled down. Another charge. Summit Pass Ski Co., $1,450. Another. Alpine Private Chef Services, $3,200. Another. Aspen Luxury Transportation, $2,800. Another. Mountain Equipment Rentals, $1,950. Another. Aspen Grocery and Catering Delivery, $1,200. Another. Mountain Spa and Wellness Services, $1,800. Another. Backcountry Adventure Bookings, $950. Another. Summit Restaurant Reservations, $550. They'd already booked it while I was sleeping. While they were telling me to grow up and stop being toxic, they'd gone ahead and charged my corporate card without asking, without authorization, without even pretending to care about my response to the group chat. The memo line on the lodging charge read, Chalet Reservation, December 15th to 22nd, Party of 4. Party of 4, not 5. 4. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. My supervisor wouldn't be in the office for another 3 hours, but I started drafting an email anyway. Subject line, Urgent, Unauthorized Corporate Card Usage. I laid out everything in clinical detail. Family members obtained my card information without authorization. Multiple charges totaling over $22,000 posted overnight. I had documentation that I was explicitly excluded from the planned trip. I needed guidance on fraud reporting procedures and dispute protocols. I attached screenshots of the group chat. I attached screenshots of the charges. I attached my loan documentation spreadsheet showing $37,000 in unpaid family debts as context for motive. I hit send at 6:47 a.m. Then I called my corporate card issuer. The fraud department opened at 7 a.m. I was on hold when they went live. The representative who answered walked me through the situation calmly. I explained everything. Unauthorized charges from family members. I had explicit documentation that I wasn't involved in the trip. I needed to file a formal fraud report immediately. She walked me through the affidavit process. I had to confirm that I didn't give permission. I had to confirm that I wanted to pursue full investigation. I had to acknowledge that making false claims was a felony. I confirmed everything without hesitation. She issued me a case number. Fraud case number FR2847392. She said the charges would be flagged pending investigation. She said I should contact each vendor directly to inform them of the dispute. She said merchants might require police reports if they pushed back. I thanked her and hung up. My supervisor called me at 7:52 a.m. She'd read my email. She said she'd already forwarded it to legal and compliance. She said I'd followed correct protocol. She said the company would support me fully because this was textbook corporate card fraud. Legal called at 8:34 a.m. They needed the fraud case number for their file. They needed copies of the signed affidavit. They asked if I wanted them to send cease and desist letters to my family members. I said yes. By 9 a.m., I had a lawyer. Not some random attorney I found online. The company's legal department assigned me someone from their external counsel, a litigation specialist who handled corporate fraud cases. She called me directly and spoke in the kind of voice that suggested she'd made grown men cry in depositions. She asked if I wanted to press charges. I said I wanted every option on the table. She said she'd draft demand letters immediately requiring full repayment within 14 days or face criminal prosecution. She said the letters would go out via certified mail by end of business today. Then she said something that made everything click into place. Fletcher, unauthorized use of a corporate card isn't just theft from you. It's theft from your employer. The company has standing to pursue this criminally regardless of your personal feelings. Do you understand what that means? I understood. It meant my family had just committed a crime that my company could prosecute independently. File everything, I told her. Criminal and civil. I want them to understand exactly what they did. She explained the criminal case would only cover the corporate card fraud. The older family money was separate and had to be handled in civil court. She also told me to stop throwing around federal buzzwords because this was a state case. Fine by me. I didn't care what it was called. I cared that it was documented. Then she paused. Are you sure? Once we file criminal complaints, that process moves forward regardless of family pressure. Police get involved. District attorneys get involved. This becomes permanent. They charged my corporate card while telling me I wasn't good enough to join their vacation. After I asked for $37,000 in repayment they owe me. I'm sure. Understood. I'll have the demand letters sent today and coordinate with local law enforcement by tomorrow. Expect calls from detectives by end of week. I went to work like it was a normal Wednesday. I coordinated insulin shipments. I reviewed route optimization reports. I had lunch at my desk. My phone buzzed constantly. Group chat exploding. Individual texts from each family member. Voicemails piling up. I read none of it. I was done negotiating with people who saw me as a resource instead of a person. That afternoon, I started calling vendors. The chalet company was first. I explained that criminal fraud charges had been filed. I provided my case number. I provided my attorney's contact information. I said the reservation needed to be canceled immediately and all charges reversed or they'd be named in the civil suit. The representative got quiet. I heard keyboard clicking. She put me on hold for exactly 90 seconds. When she came back, her tone had shifted completely. Professional concern replaced the standard customer service voice. She confirmed the reservation was under review and asked me to send the police report and fraud case documentation to their legal department. I had it in their inbox within 5 minutes. They reversed it within 20 minutes. The ski pass company tried to argue about their cancellation policy. A manager got on the line and started reading from a script about how all sales were final and weather-dependent and subject to terms and conditions. I let him finish. Then, I told him my lawyer was drafting subpoenas for their payment processing records as we spoke. I told him they could fight it in court if they wanted to spend legal fees on defending a fraud transaction. I told him I had documentation showing I was explicitly excluded from the trip while my card was being charged. I gave him my attorney's direct number and suggested he call her before close of business. He reversed it in 15 minutes. The private chef service actually apologized. The owner got on the phone personally and said she'd had fraud cases before and understood completely. She processed the reversal while I was still on the call and emailed me confirmation within minutes. She even flagged my family's names in her system to prevent future bookings. By end of business Wednesday, I'd contacted 9 vendors. All 9 reversed their charges. Total recovered, $22,400. The group chat was chaos. Over 100 messages in 6 hours. I scrolled through them that evening with my feet up, eating leftover Chinese food. Brennan, what did you do? The chalet just called and said our reservation was canceled because of fraud charges. Are you insane? This is absolutely psychotic behavior. Macy, you filed a police report against your own family? Over a vacation? I can't believe you're doing this. Mom is having a breakdown. She can't stop crying. Are you happy now? Mom, Fletcher, please, I'm begging you. Call these people back. Tell them it was a mistake. We'll figure out the payment situation. We'll work something out. Just please stop this before it goes any further. Your father is talking to lawyers right now. This is destroying our family. Dad, you want to play hardball? Fine. We're consulting with an attorney about defamation and harassment. You're making false claims to damage our reputations. This is going to cost you more than you ever gave us. Call off your lawyer immediately or face the consequences. I took a screenshot of my dad's message. I forwarded it to my attorney with a note, adding threats to the file. She responded within minutes. Noted. Demand letters go out tomorrow morning. Criminal complaints filed Friday. I finished my Chinese food. I watched an episode of a documentary series about Antarctic research. I went to bed at 10 p.m. Thursday morning, my parents showed up at my apartment. I was leaving for work at 6:45 a.m. when I found them parked in front of my building. My dad got out of the truck first. My mom stayed in the passenger seat, looking like she hadn't slept. Fletcher. My dad's voice had that edge, the one that used to make me nervous when I was younger. We need to talk about this situation before it gets out of hand. I kept walking toward my car. It's already out of hand. You committed fraud. I filed reports. That's the entire conversation. He stepped in front of me. You're going to destroy this family over money? That's who you are now? I asked you to pay back the $37,000 you owe me before booking a luxury vacation. You called me toxic and charged my corporate card instead. That's who you are. Always has been. My mom got out of the truck. Her face was red. We didn't know you were serious about those loans. We thought you were just upset about not being invited. If you'd explained clearly that you actually expected repayment, we would have handled things differently. I sent you a detailed message with exact amounts owed. You called me toxic. Then you used my card without permission. That's fraud. The legal definition. My dad's face was getting redder. You filed criminal complaints against your own parents. Do you understand what that means? We could have criminal records. We could face charges. Your mother could go to jail. Over what? A misunderstanding about a credit card? Then you should have asked before using it. Like adults. I walked around him toward my car. Fletcher! My mom's voice cracked. Please, we'll pay you back. Whatever you want, just call your lawyer and tell them to drop everything. We'll set up payment plans. We'll figure it out. Just please stop this. I unlocked my car. You've had 8 years to pay me back. You never intended to. This trip just made it obvious. The answer is no. You're really going to let your parents get arrested over this? My dad was yelling now. You're really going to put us through the criminal justice system? You do that to your own mother? I opened my car door. You did this to yourselves. I'm just the one who stopped pretending it was normal. I got in my car and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I watched my mom collapse against the truck. My dad stood there with his fists clenched, staring after me. I felt nothing but relief. Friday morning, my attorney called me with an update. Demand letters were delivered yesterday via certified mail to all 4 family members. Your parents, brother, and sister each received formal notice of the $37,000 in debt, plus the $22,400 in fraudulent charges. Criminal side was the $22,400 fraud. Civil demand was the $37,000. 2 separate tracks. They have 14 days to respond with full payment or face civil litigation. And the criminal side? I coordinated with the Denver District Attorney's Office this morning. They're reviewing the case for prosecution. The corporate angle makes it stronger. Your company is willing to pursue this as corporate fraud, which carries heavier penalties than personal theft. I've also filed with the Colorado Attorney General's Office for unauthorized use of a financial transaction device charges related to the fraudulent card transactions. How serious are the charges? Class 4 felony for the fraud amount. If convicted, your family members could face 2 to 6 years in prison and fines up to $500,000 total. The unauthorized use of a financial transaction device adds additional charges. The DA's office will likely offer plea deals, but those would still result in criminal records and restitution requirements. I sat in my car in the warehouse parking lot. The engine was still running. What happens next? Detectives will contact each family member within 48 hours for voluntary interviews. If they refuse or lawyer up immediately, arrest warrants will be issued. The DA wants this case. Corporate fraud with clear documentation is rare. They're taking it seriously. Good. My attorney paused. Fletcher, I need to be clear. Once the criminal process starts, you can't stop it. Even if your family pays everything back, the state can still prosecute. Are you absolutely certain you want to proceed? I thought about don't ask. You're not on the list. I thought about $37,000 in unpaid loans. I thought about them charging my card while calling me toxic for asking for repayment. I'm certain. File everything. Understood. I'll keep you updated. That afternoon, Brennan called me 17 times. Macy called 23 times. My parents called 9 times. I blocked all their numbers after the first few started leaving voicemails that were half threats, half begging. The only voicemail I saved was from my dad. His voice was shaking. A detective just called me. He said I'm a suspect in a felony fraud investigation. He wants me to come in for an interview. Fletcher, what have you done? This is insane. Call me back immediately. We need to fix this before it's too late. I forwarded it to my attorney. She replied, Good. The wheels are turning. Friday evening, I got home from work to find my brother waiting outside my building. Brennan looked terrible. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. He was pacing by the entrance like he'd been there for hours. Fletcher. He stepped in front of me. Please. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. No. A detective called me today. He said I'm facing felony charges. Felony, Fletcher. I could lose my real estate license. I could go to prison. Mom and Dad are losing their minds. Macy won't stop crying. You have to call this off. I don't have to do anything. You committed fraud. Face the consequences. It was a mistake. We didn't think it through. We thought you'd be fine with it once we explained everything. We were going to pay you back from the trip photos and videos. Macy was going to use them for her event planning portfolio. It was supposed to generate income for all of us. I stared at him. You were going to pay me back with exposure? That's your defense? We just needed this one opportunity to turn things around. One good trip to create content and network and recharge. You've always been able to afford things we can't. We thought you'd understand. We thought you'd want to help us succeed. I helped you succeed for 8 years. You spent it on nothing. This is over, Brennan. Go talk to your lawyer instead of me. He grabbed my arm. Please. I'm begging you. I'll pay back every cent. I'll get a real job. I'll do whatever you want. Just make this go away. I pulled my arm free. You had that option Tuesday morning when I asked for repayment. You called me toxic instead. Now you're facing charges. That's called consequences. You're really going to let your own brother go to prison? You're really going to stand here and act like the victim after you committed fraud? I stepped around him toward my building entrance. Go home, Brennan. Hire a lawyer. Stop bothering me. I walked inside and locked the door behind me. Through the glass, I watched him stand there for another 5 minutes before finally leaving. The weekend was quiet. I went for a long run Saturday morning. I worked on my coffee table in the afternoon. Sunday, I meal prepped for the week and watched football. My phone stayed silent. They'd finally realized I wasn't answering. Then, Monday happened. I was in a morning operations meeting when my supervisor's assistant knocked on the conference room door. She looked uncomfortable. My supervisor stepped out to talk to her, then came back in and asked me to step outside for a moment. In the hallway, she kept her voice low. Fletcher, I need you to know that HR just received a call from someone claiming to be your mother. She told them you've been experiencing severe mental health issues and that you've been making false accusations against your family. She said you need psychiatric help and asked if the company had resources to intervene. My jaw clenched. That's not true. Any of it. I know. HR told her they can't discuss employees with outside parties and to stop contacting the company. But she also sent an email to 3 members of the executive team claiming you've been embezzling company funds and that the fraud report is you trying to cover your tracks. I felt my blood pressure spike. She did what? Legal is handling it. Security has also been notified and flagged the building in case she tries to show up here. But I wanted you to know what's happening before you hear it from someone else. She's also apparently been calling other employees asking them to relay messages to you. They were trying to get me fired, actually trying to destroy my career because I wouldn't let them get away with fraud. My attorney called me 20 minutes later. She'd already heard from my company's legal team. Your mother crossed a serious line. Making false allegations about embezzlement to your employer could constitute civil defamation and tortious interference with employment. Do you want to add civil claims for that? Will it stick? With the documentation we have? Absolutely. She sent emails making specific false claims that can be proven untrue. That's textbook defamation. We can also pursue a civil protection order prohibiting any contact with you or your employer. Do it. All of it. Consider it done. I'm also going to recommend to the DA that they accelerate the timeline on formal charges. Your family is escalating in ways that suggest they're dangerous. The sooner they're facing actual criminal proceedings, the sooner this behavior stops. That evening, one of my cousins called. She was one of the few relatives who stayed neutral in family drama. She'd been at that Thanksgiving dinner. She'd seen how they treated me. Fletcher, I need to tell you something. Your mom has been calling everyone in the extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, nobody's talked to in years. She's telling them you've had a breakdown and that you're making up lies about them to justify cutting them off. She's setting up a GoFundMe to help them pay for lawyers to defend themselves against false accusations. You're kidding. I wish I was. She posted it this morning. It's already raised $3,400 from relatives who don't know the full story. The description says you're trying to extort them for money they don't owe, and that they need legal defense funds to protect themselves from your harassment. I pulled up the GoFundMe on my phone. There it was, complete with a photo of my parents looking sad and defeated. The description painted me as an unstable, vengeful son who was weaponizing the legal system to hurt his loving family over imaginary debts. The comments section was filled with relatives I barely knew offering support and sympathy. Several suggested I needed serious help. One aunt I hadn't seen in 15 years called me evil. I screenshot everything. I sent it to my attorney. Her response was immediate. This is fraud. They're raising money under false pretenses. I'm contacting GoFundMe's fraud department and adding wire fraud to the criminal complaints. This just got significantly worse for them. Monday night, my attorney called with an update that almost made me smile. GoFundMe shut down their campaign within 2 hours of my report. They're refunding all donations and investigating for criminal fraud. Your mother's phone number and email are now permanently banned from their platform. I've also filed an emergency motion for a temporary civil protection order. The hearing is Wednesday morning. If granted, your family will be prohibited from contacting you, your employer, or anyone associated with your workplace. Violations carry immediate arrest. And the criminal charges? The DA is filing formal charges Thursday. All 4 of them will be arraigned within 2 weeks. The addition of civil defamation claims and fraud charges related to the GoFundMe significantly increased the severity. They're looking at enhanced penalties now. Wednesday's protection order hearing was brief. The judge reviewed the evidence, the group chat, the fraud charges, the emails to my employer making false embezzlement claims, the GoFundMe scam, my dad's text saying he'd handle it in person after I blocked their numbers. The judge granted a temporary protection order immediately, then scheduled a permanent order hearing for 2 weeks later. When that hearing came, with my family unable to dispute any of the documented harassment, he made it permanent. 3 years. My entire family was now legally prohibited from coming within 500 feet of me or contacting me through any means. The judge's final comment before dismissing court stuck with me. This is one of the clearest cases of financial abuse and harassment I've seen in this courtroom. The petitioner showed extraordinary patience before taking legal action. The respondents have demonstrated a pattern of exploitation that fully justifies this order. Monday morning, my attorney called again. 3 of them accepted the plea deals. Your mother, sister, and brother signed this morning. They'll be formally sentenced next month. Your father refused. He's going to trial? Apparently, he believes he can convince a jury that this was a misunderstanding. His lawyer tried to talk him out of it, but he's adamant. He thinks he can argue that you gave implied permission by providing your card information previously. I never gave permission. I gave my card number to my mom for a specific catering order. She saved it without authorization. I know. That's what makes his defense weak. But he's convinced he can win. We're heading to trial in 8 weeks. 8 weeks of preparation. 8 weeks of my father doubling down on his entitlement instead of accepting responsibility. The civil suit moved forward in parallel. Since 3 of them accepted criminal plea deals that included restitution requirements, their lawyers offered to settle the civil suit for the exact amounts owed. My mom would pay $8,000 plus her legal fees. Brennan would pay $18,000 plus his legal fees. Macy would pay $11,000 plus her legal fees. I accepted their settlements on one condition: full payment within 90 days or the civil suit proceeds with additional penalties. They agreed. None of them had the money. They took out loans, maxed new credit cards, borrowed from relatives I'd never met. My mom's sister apparently called me every name in the book while wiring her $3,000 to help. I didn't care. I wanted my money back, and I wanted them to understand exactly what their actions cost them. My father's trial started in February. I testified on day 2. My attorney prepped me thoroughly. I answered every question honestly. I provided documentation for every claim. I never raised my voice. I never showed emotion. I just told the truth. The prosecutor walked me through 8 years of financial support. Every transfer, every loan, every emergency. The jury saw spreadsheets, bank statements, text messages where my family promised to pay me back soon. Then they saw the group chat. Don't ask. You're not on the list. They saw the corporate card charges. Party of 4. Always 4. Never 5. They saw my immediate response asking for repayment before any vacation. They saw my family calling me toxic. They saw the charges posting while I slept. The prosecution also showed the jury the GoFundMe scam, the emails to my employer, the pattern of escalation after I refused to back down. The prosecutor methodically demonstrated how my family responded to accountability by trying to destroy my reputation and career. One juror, an older woman in the front row, shook her head visibly when they showed the screenshots of my mother's emails, claiming I was embezzling company funds. Another juror, a middle-aged man in business attire, took detailed notes during my testimony about the 8 years of unpaid loans. My father's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, as someone who gave money freely and then demanded it back out of spite, as someone who weaponized the legal system against his own family over a simple misunderstanding. The prosecutor destroyed that narrative in closing arguments. The defendant didn't commit fraud because of a misunderstanding. He committed fraud because he believed he was entitled to his son's resources without permission. When his son finally said no, he took what he wanted anyway. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. And when his son pursued legal accountability, the defendant and his family tried to destroy his career and reputation. That's not the behavior of innocent people caught in a misunderstanding. That's the behavior of people who've been exploiting someone for years and got caught. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. My father was sentenced to 2 years in state custody, 3 years probation after release, and full restitution of his portion plus court costs. His lawyer filed an appeal that went nowhere. He served 18 months before being released on good behavior. I heard about it through my cousin. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't visit him in jail. I didn't care. It's been 3 years since Aspen. My mother, brother, and sister completed their probation requirements. They paid back every cent they owed through garnished wages and payment plans that destroyed their credit. My mom had to sell her house and move into an apartment. Mom divorced him while he was inside. She told people she did it for peace, but the real reason was simpler. He refused every off-ramp, turned a theft case into a felony conviction out of stubborn pride, and left her holding the financial wreckage. She wasn't rebuilding her life with him attached to it. Brennan lost his real estate license and works in insurance sales now. Macy gave up event planning and works retail. They hate me. That much is clear from the family members who still talk to both sides. Every holiday brings new stories about how I destroyed the family, how I chose money over love, how I'm the villain in every version of the story they tell. I don't care. My father got out of jail and moved to Arizona. He lives with his brother and works part-time at a hardware store. He's barely making ends meet. His criminal record makes employment difficult. His pride makes reconciliation impossible. Last month, he called me from another unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something about the timing felt important. His voice sounded old, tired, defeated in ways prison couldn't explain. He told me he'd been thinking about everything, about Aspen, about the trial, about 3 years of consequences. He said he understood now why I did what I did. Then he said he needed help. Medical bills from a procedure he couldn't afford. His brother was kicking him out. He needed $2,500 to cover first month's rent and deposit on a new place. He said he wouldn't ask if he had anywhere else to turn. I let him finish. Let the silence stretch exactly long enough to hurt. Do you remember what you texted me before Aspen? Silence on his end. Don't ask. You're not on the list. He started to say something. I cut him off. You're still not on the list. Don't call me again. I hung up, blocked the number, deleted the voicemail. Then I went back to the coffee table I was refinishing in my garage. The new one. The one where all 4 legs were perfectly even. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.